Test, test, test. That was when the
All right, we'll call to order the January 19th meeting for the South County Board of Architectural Review. We'll begin with any public comment that's not related to any agendized items today. I don't think I see anyone online.
We have nobody online and we have nobody present for public comment.
All right, and we'll move on to an agenda status report. Jonathan?
yeah.
Agenda status report. Item number 2 will be is asked to be continued to the February 16th SBAR agenda. We will need a motion to carry this over.
Sorry, which number was it?
Number 2.
Item number 2, Amory Living Trust Garage.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moved by Alex, second by Kaylee, and 4-0 vote. Oh, would you mind turning on your microphone?
We can note that. We'll move on to the informational briefings in a moment. We can review the minutes from
February 16th.
so we'll review the minutes from January 5th.
Okay.
Do we have a quorum present for that, right?
Yeah, we were all here.
We were all here. That was pretty good of us for after the holidays.
I know, there was a good showing. Everybody came.
Yeah. Okay. So on Sophie's, I thought I remembered A that says that chimney elements appear awkward as proposed. Wasn't that a comment from previously? And then she revised them? we
Yeah,
carry
that's
it
true.
over?
She did revise it.
This comment? I just didn't know if we decided to carry that over because she had revised it.
Oh,
You want to turn on your,
Yeah, there was something a little bit awkward. I
do you remember making the comment to keep it on there?
think so.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, Madam Chair, just to confirm, is the comment to keep the prior comment that was previously on the project there with this approval?
That's Alex's recollection, yeah, that he had had us keep the comment on there. Moving
Okay,
forward.
great. I'll add it back.
Okay, we can revisit item 1. We'll do it after. We'll do it after minutes or,
After the minutes?
yeah. Is everyone good with 3?
Apologies. 3.
Um, just on 3,
Oh, Valerie, do you have your microphone? Thank you.
yeah, on 3, we also had suggested studying a port cochere. It can be another bullet. So you could say, consider port cochere to resolve entry issues.
Okay, great. I got that.
I think 4 is fine.
Are we on 5? Thank you, sir.
5 is fine.
Yeah, 5 seems fine to me.
Okay.
On CD, what elevation is that? With the south elevation?
Yeah,
I think it
that was the south elevation. And on item B, say come together and are generally successful, because then we proceed to talk about the elevation that's not successful.
Was it south? It was the Embarcadero elevation, right?
I think it was south,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then item D, that was south also.
Landscape comment pretty clearly.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve?
What does that G clear? What is randomizing? I mean, I don't know that verb very well, but but what does it mean? Randomizing number of trees in row.
Staggering? Would it be
I
staggering?
mean, they did kind of, this was Chris's comment, but they did give an example. David did write an example like 1, 3, 1 rather than 2, 2, 2.
Oh, there it is.
Actually,
Okay,
it's
okay.
pretty
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't see that part.
more
Okay,
detailed than many of our
okay,
comments.
good enough. Okay, good enough.
Did anyone,
I make a motion to approve the amended minutes.
I'll second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. And we're going to revisit item 1 for public comment for any speakers not relating to an item on today's agenda. I think we have 1 speaker slip, but I don't have it yet. All right, Michael Guten, would you like to come to the podium? We don't have that timer today.
Remember that I'm the neighbor next door to the project at 736 Mission Park Drive. On the January 5th hearing, there was a drawing presented kind of at the last minute. No one had seen it because it hadn't been uploaded, and I didn't get a chance to see it. And you looked at it just for a few seconds before you approved the conceptual design. The thing that changed on that was that they changed the style of the roof from a gable, from a hip roof to a gable roof, and they increased the height and the pitch. And Alex, you said you didn't think that that style worked with the style of house, and you asked them to reduce the pitch. I think you also meant that they should go back to the hip roof because the problem was always that it blocked sunlight from the neighbors. And when they went to the hip roof, that seemed to be a lot more acceptable to us because it didn't block as much sunlight. But you didn't put it in the comment in the minutes. And I think that was your intention, and that would certainly be something that would be very helpful to the two neighbors on either side, would have a hip roof design rather than a gable roof design. I was hoping that you would consider that and maybe amend the minutes to include that. The other thing that I was going to say about that is they also changed the roof line over the garage to be a flat roof. You had all said that since it looked into my windows, you didn't want them to have the terrace that they were planning to have there. And then they went to their hip roof, would prevent them from ever having a terrace. But then they went back to the flat roof, which means that at some point they could change the window in that bedroom to a door and have a terrace again. And that would be past what you guys would have control over. So I was hoping today that you would consider having them go back to a hip roof rather than a pitched gable roof, lower the total height to what the drawing was previously to 23 feet rather than 25, and to have them, yes, go back to a hip roof with a lower pitch of 4 and 12. So that's what I actually came here for another project, which was going to be across the street, which was continued today. And that I'm just hoping that you guys will work with me and ask the applicant to go back to a hip roof design with a lower pitch, which would have less impact on the neighbors as far as blocking sunlight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I believe that comment was in the minutes. wasn't
Well,
it?
we're not going to reopen the agenda, the minutes from that item today, but that item will have to come back because it didn't receive final approval at the previous hearing. So we'll be
Yeah.
able to take those comments into
we'll discuss
consideration
it
at
then.
that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to SBAR member informational briefings, and we know that
I need to recuse myself from item 6.
6.
Mm. You might have a quorum.
Do you need to recuse yourself from item 6?
No.
Oh, if
because
Josh
there's only
doesn't
4 of
attend,
us. If Josh-
that's true. Okay. Thanks. Okay. Just gonna give him a minute to, are you calling Josh now? Or he's texting him? Oh, actually, I'll text him right now. Okay, all right, and then we can carry on. I text him. All right, and we'll move on to the staff update.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. I do have one project-related update to share with you guys today. So the Verizon project in Isla Vista on Camino Mallorca, I believe it's located there. So that project, it was reviewed. So the SBAR had denied the request and the director had approved the development plan request. And so both those actions had been appealed to the Planning Commission. And so the Planning Commission took action to approve the project. And so that has since been appealed to the Board of Supervisors by the neighbor. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on that. So it'll be going to the board on appeal in the next few months. And that's all I have today.
Thank you. Josh just texted back that he's just running 10 minutes. He'll be here in 10 minutes. Okay, great. So we won't have a quorum issue. All right, and we'll move on to item 1 on the agenda, the Stapleton additions. There was no consent today, I should note. So the Stapleton additions in the Mission Canyon Community Plan area, the request of John Watson for Larry Stapleton and Gerald Golden. This item is here for conceptual review for an addition of a 192 square foot, a dining room addition. There's existing structures on the property, a single family residence, and attached garage. It's on a 0.26 acre parcel at 2626 Montrose Place.
Good morning. Happy New Year to everybody. So the Jesus Cedar fire took out the original house when it burned. And then in the 2014-2015 time period, I was hired to design a house on the north side of Montrose, which is about 2454 square feet with a 441 square foot garage. And Montrose is here and this lot goes down. And so the house is down below. When you stand on Montrose, you actually look right over the top of the house through the valley into the hillside on the far side. That owner, the gentleman I did it for, sold the house last year. The new owner said, you know what, we really like to entertain and have a formal dining room, which I didn't have. I have a great room now. So what we'd like to do is to add a new addition into the deck, which if no landscaping affected, nothing except a small area reducing the deck, lower height than the existing ridge, and consistent with the same style of windows and doors, thick walls and things like that. So 192 square feet. I think it's a very simple project. We can go to the elevations if you'd like, or I can explain the floor plan if you want. Well, let's do the pictures first. So we are, we're right up, yeah, right in the upper right-hand corner is the area where the addition will, there, and then the photo to the left is where the work will be accomplished. And then the other photographs just show the character of the house and the window style. So if you want me to go through the floor plan, I'd be happy to do it, but I think the real issue is right to the elevations. So there it is. It's sitting on top of the deck and on the left upper right-hand corner, it's sitting on top of the deck. And then the lower left-hand corner, it shows how the deck is being truncated in length. We're building it out over the deck and putting that new dining room right there. We moved the doors that are in the living room to the right on this drawing, so that, but using the exact same door. So I think it's an extremely simple project. We have 3 letters of support. The neighbor immediately to the east, which would be the most highly impacted by it. They're in favor of it. The neighbor farther to the east, again, supportive, and the neighbor to the west, supportive. They're all on the downhill side. The ones on the uphill side look right over the top, and therefore we did not solicit any letters. And I'm happy to have any questions if you answer any questions if you'd like.
I have a question. Typically in this kind of condition, we'll have the applicant show the window of the height as it goes down the slope. And if it's exceeding the height, which the front end might be, that you delineate how many square feet that is. I mean, it can
I
be
am,
a minor exception, but,
I am in there with requesting no exception to the height.
okay.
I'm right there, though. I mean, I'm like within an inch or two of it. And the planner asked me to go through, Olivia asked me to go through, and I showed it both in plan, looking straight down, doing that calculation, and then in elevation. And that's what that red in the lower left-hand corner, there's a red circle around a dimension. That's the dimension that shows the height limit.
Looks like it says 24 feet, 10 and a half.
Right. So just for consistency, you can draw it as it goes down slope. So you, right, just,
I could do that. I could add that to the drawing.
yeah. But just in your final round of plans,
Sure.
just
When it
do
goes,
that.
That'd be fine.
you can kind of see how.
Yeah, yeah, just like that.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to public comment. There were 3 letters. We'll move on to public comment. There were 3 letters in support of this project. And I don't see anyone online. No? Okay, and is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak about this project? No? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to comments from the board. Start with you, John.
Okay, it's a very nice project, simple, looks like it was always there. I think it could come back for preliminary and final on consent.
Anything to add? Alex?
I agree.
I agree and appreciate you getting the support of the neighbors in advance.
You're welcome.
It's easier.
Of course.
I agree as well. So we'll see you when you come back.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. All right, we'll move on to item 2, 3. Thank you. Let's see, the Hall New Single Family Dwelling in the Eastern Goleta Valley area. The request of Natalie Oshner for William and Jennifer Hall. This item's here for conceptual review for a new 1-story family residence of 2,072 square feet and a 843 square foot garage shop mechanical area. It's currently a vacant lot. It's going to require 1,050 cubic yards of cut and fill, so balanced cut and fill. The property's on a 0.58 acre parcel located at 1049 Via Los Padres in the Eastern Valley Community Plan area. And please state your name. And
Good morning, Tom Oxner, project architect. And so some of you may have seen this property before. I think there was a home that was a contemporary home that was designed on it some time ago. The neighborhood is off Via Los Padres, and that neighborhood is relatively new. It burnt. I think it might have been the cave fire, but a lot of those homes are fairly new. And I've got some photographs that can introduce us to the neighborhood. Basically what we've got here is about a 15% sloped, little over half an acre parcel and surrounded by existing homes. So this is an infill project. Can we move to the next slide? Keep going. Let's find some photos. Well, let's come back to this one. We've got some site photos next. Okay, so the upper left-hand image is a drone shot from the southwest. It says northeast. Oh yeah, it's aerial view from the northeast. So you can see that property there, that half acre is sloping towards us. And on the left is the north side, the high side of the lot. And on the right is Via Los Padres again, and it surrounds it. And that's the low side of the lot. The existing homes to the east and to the west and to the north and to the south, I've got photos of. There is an HOA associated with this project. They have reviewed the design. Their requirements exceed the county's in terms of more restrictive on height and more restrictive on setbacks. There's 25-foot setbacks and a 16-foot height. They do allow for exceptions to the height when you're dealing with sloped properties. So they reviewed this and determined that the design was proportionate to the slope of the site. They also, the owners, I've got them here as well, and they put up story poles and invited the neighbors out. And the neighbors reviewed the plans and they're happy with the placement of the house and the height of the house. And let's move to the next slide. For a site, yeah, perfect. So this is the site, that's the existing natural topography. The idea was to locate the main level of the house on a middle ground that could provide a cut and fill balance and still maintain the views out to the southwest. We tried to retain, I think we can find a site plan. Let's move to the site plan now. I think that'll work for now. So the idea was to create a view orientation to the southwest and position the main level of the house, 316, across the topo that would provide views, but also be very sensitive to the slope. We're retaining the existing topography around the north, the west, the south, and the driveway on the east actually follows very closely to the natural topography. We've got some low retaining walls on the north to account for our motor court, so we can get down and share the same elevation of the motor court with the primary portions of the house. It became clear that putting the garage down below would help on this project, and that is what triggered the additional height that the HOA reviewed. The overall height of the building from natural grade is 16 feet. When you look at the height of the building from the lower motor court to the very top of the 16-foot living room, it's 25 feet. But from natural grade, it's 16 feet. Let's see, let's move to the next slide. Oh, yeah, I think site sections would be good next. Let's see if we can move forward. There we go. So this gives us an idea of the cut and fill situation. Again, the house is kind of set in the middle of the parcel and balancing it out. We're looking at a little over 1,000 cubic feet, 1,050 cubic feet of cut and fill. And the fill is placed in the middle of the site, and we're not interfering with the natural topography around the perimeter of the property. Next slide. And so this is the understory plan. You can see there's a garage and a shop down there. Next slide. And this is the upper level. This is all one level. It's their retirement home. The owner is a local building contractor. And so it was fun to work with him, and we developed a plan that kind of worked with the topography and the views to achieve a one-level house that that is fairly modest in size. It's a 2,500 square foot on that upper level, and below, I think it's about 800 square feet. Next slide. And the roof plan, we've got the style of the architecture they like lends itself well to a low-pitched hip roof, which is also very sympathetic to the neighborhood. And we see a lot of low-pitched homes in the neighborhood. Next slide. And so this is some sections. The upper section is through the living room, where we're using the 16-foot height allowance to bring in some natural light north and south, and deep covered eaves around the entire house, given that area tends to be above the fog and gets heat. And so sun control is important. And then the lower section, of course, shows the understory as it relates to the site. And I think that's clear. Next slide. The architecture, it suits the neighborhood, and I've got some photos, I think, at the very end of some of the adjacent homes, but there's plaster, tiled roof, and some homes are two-story as they deal with the sites similar to this. A lot of them have tiled roofs. We've chosen plaster, stucco with deep overhangs and stone accents and covered patios, trying to create a sense of a little bit of vertical within the low height of 16 feet to existing grades. So you can see the lower portion on the south elevation with the garage and a balcony that is above it, that casts a shadow down over that and softens that facade. Next slide. And then so the house kind of sits on an angle to the site. So these are a bit skewed, but the idea was to create a hierarchy of massing at the main center for the entry and the living space, and then set it down a little bit as it wraps around that mass. Next slide. Oh, that's the end? Okay, there we go. So these are the adjacent homes that surround the property here. So slide number 1 is the home directly to the east. No, I'm sorry, that's the home directly to the west is slide number 1. And slide number 2 is the home directly to the east. And slide number 3 is also that home directly to the east. So slide number 3, you're looking across the northeast corner of the parcel, and that home probably has the biggest impact to this house. And then slide number 4 is directly across Villa Los Padres on the north side. So that sits up above of our site. And then we've got slide number 5 is the home on the other side, the southern side of the property across the street of Villa Los Padres. And this kind of gives you an idea of the variety and the style of these homes that have evolved after the fire. They're plastered with non-combustible materials. I think that's it. I've got other drawings here I can answer your questions with, but I think that'll do it.
Sounds great. Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, I got a question. What you said tile roof, what kind of tiles? Like a two-piece mission tile or flat tile, or what is it?
Oh, for our project?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got, we're trying to decide between a concrete shake or a dimensional comp shingle. So it's a low-pitched roof, and but that deep color, a very dark and a bit of a dimensional texture to it is kind of where we're headed.
I have one overall question. Are you requesting a modification, or you're within the county's guidelines because it's from existing grade and it was just an HOA?
Right, we're within the county's regulations. That the HOA has more stringent in terms
Yeah.
of setbacks and heights.
Okay, just one.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, Josh?
Back to the site plan, please, Tom. Or Jonathan. So between the 3 different volumes, you've created some pretty acute angles between them. Can you review why that's necessary, or is that helping with reducing grading, or?
Yeah, so the site really features a view that's to the southwest. If you were to stand on the site and look straight down the slope directly to the south, there would be sort of a hill there. And so the view opens up towards Goleta as you're there looking. So they wanted the primary portion of the house to address that view, and then have the other wings also achieve that view also, but be somewhat separate. So the mass to the left that you see is the master bedroom. And then the big center mass is the living space, the living dining kitchen, and that faces primarily the view. And the mass to the right that's the bedroom wing. There's bedrooms there, and then below that mass, of course, is the garage and shop.
Al, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had the same question about the roof, but also, have you started developing any landscape yet?
We haven't yet. I wanted to make sure that, the grading and the site location, the HOA, there's a lot of dynamics. So we're kind of just getting your initial ideas here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, I don't see any, we'll move on to public comment. I don't see anyone raising their hand online. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
We have nobody in the attendees column and nobody present for public comment.
Okay, and we'll come back to the board for comments. We'll start with Josh this time.
Okay, so obviously architectural style seems very appropriate to the neighborhood as far as I can tell, and mass, bulk, and scale seem correct, and my sense is the project's really about getting it to sit in the site properly. Seems like you've done pretty good study of that. So, and thanks for the building sections. Or the site sections. Those help us understand it. I think next time we see it, would just be good to draw like a red line or just put a line where that natural grade 16 feet is so we can see it. And then if there's a different line that's drawn for the HOA, maybe draw that so we can differentiate the two, because I didn't catch that till the end. And I want to make sure I understand how you're complying with the county ordinances. It sounds like you are. So, yeah, the acute angles between the buildings kind of find a little bit frustrating, but you know, that to me, that's just a choice between you and the owner. It makes it complicated to build, and I kind of worry about how those little corners work themselves out as a nerd architect thinking about it. But I don't think I'm going to make any comments on that. I really like the elevations. The presentation today shows some very nice elevations, nice materiality, and the way the building kind of stacks up and just kind of presents itself in those elevations looks very nice. So I suppose I'm supportive of the project. I can't find any fault with it at this point. My comments would just, I don't even think I had a
You didn't have
comment.
any comments? Okay.
Well, just talking over here. Just opinions, no direction.
Okay,
I think it's great. I don't have any comments at this point. I'm supportive of it.
okay. Val?
Yeah, I'm supportive of the architectural style, and I think your elevations are really interesting. Looking at the site plan, you do have some real challenges with the motor court and the paving and the shapes there. And so as you get into your landscape, it'd be really good to put a lot of energy into how to make that more attractive and appealing, and less of a big swath of paving that you're having to do to navigate, have that parking up above and then get down to the lower motor court. It's a lot of paving. So it needs some extra creativity for making it more aesthetic. So I'll be, really looking for your landscape solutions and hardscapes and just breaking up the angularity of what's shown here to date. Let's go to the elevations. Keep going. Yeah, yeah. I like your materials and your fenestration a lot. The one place I'm not convinced yet is the entry, the slightly, the continuation of the roof pitch over those columns. I don't know. The rear elevation is beautiful. The great room and the stack above it is great, but maybe some more study of the entry. The stone columns, and then does it go to wood above or steel?
Wood.
Wood. Yeah, I don't know. Not totally convinced, but in general, the massing and the hip roofs and the materials, and particularly your windows, are really, really nice. So yeah, I'm very positive about it.
Alex?
I agree with all those comments. Regarding the roof, I wonder if standing seam metal roofing will match better. Just a suggestion. It just seems like it's a more modern house. It has the beautiful windows. I think it might match a little bit better. And I agree with the comments made before. The entry, if you go back to the site plan, then Yeah, keep going. Site plan, keep going, keep going. There you are. Yeah, the first thing I saw was that angle, that acute angle. Maybe it's the architect in me. It made me nervous. What happens in that acute angle? But it's just nobody will see. I mean, it's a minor thing, but it is awkward. I think Valerie's comment is more important. All those right angles and the straight lines on the site plan, they need to go away and have something more natural. I'm sure the landscape architect will do that. Put boulders for retaining walls, just soften it up, because right now it's kind of like it's
rigid.
too straight. It seems like a very primitive. It's not as sophisticated as the house itself. But anyway, it's a very nice project, nice presentation. Thank you.
John?
Yeah, I agree with those comments too. I think it's a really nice project in response to the site and creating that lawn there, which I imagine is going to be a pretty private space. And the thing that concerns me is going back to Valerie's comment, there's an awful lot of paving, which is generated by this garage down below. And it just seems that there must be some way of dealing with that or mitigating the amount of paving. It's a problem. But the house is beautiful.
That's good. I have a general comment on the elevations. We've been trying to have the elevations clean without landscaping in front of them. So you can have both, but it's just nice to see it without the plants in front so that the architects can do it without all our landscape solutions in front of it. And then I agree with the comments about the motor court. And I think it's just a study and really studying the vehicle patterns and reducing paving where you can. But I think most important is going to be able to incorporate some tree canopy over the paving so that you can that'll be an important way to soften it up. I see the logic in having the garage on the lower level. And I think what really needs studying is that upper motor court to give a sense of entry. And I think there's some good landscape solutions for the acute angles if it doesn't get changed architecturally. That is everything. So does anyone want to make a motion?
No, it's just for concept.
Conceptual,
Yeah.
okay. All right, and so return for preliminary
Yeah,
full board.
Come
Okay.
back preliminary.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Just preliminary, I think.
Well, yeah, we haven't.
We haven't seen the landscape.
Yeah, we haven't seen landscape and probably needs a little bit of grading study too, so.
Nice job, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. All right. Yes. And John's recusing from item 6. Okay. We will have quorum for, but you can't run away because we need you for quorum on item 6. All right, so we'll move on to item 4. Yeah. Feel ya. All right, we'll move on to, yeah.
Trying to figure out how to do that. Anybody else having trouble with the internet?
I'm actually using Jonathan's computer because I couldn't get on. I don't know what's going on. So we'll move on to item 4, the Artigas Echegaray Addition and Guest House in the Eastern Goleta Valley. At the request of Tom Henson, agent for Patricia Artigas and Lucas Echegaray. This item's here for conceptual review for a conversion of a 430 square foot garage into habitable space, new 2-car garage in the front yard setback, and a new guest house of 726 square feet within the setbacks. There's an existing single family dwelling. That's a previous hearing. Okay. Oh, okay. This project will. Huh?
You have to be all serious.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, 42 cubic yards of cut and approximately 4 cubic yards of fill. The property is a 1-acre parcel located at 4131 Marina Drive. And is the applicant online? Tom Henson, I don't see him on there. Maybe
I
we're
don't see him online either.
Too fast for. Okay, is the applicant for item 5 online? John? Hui Kendall? No, we've moved it too fast for everyone.
Hey, Chris,
Kaye is on for
is the
items
planner for, I'm sorry, is the applicant for item 5 online or available?
4.
This is Chris. I'm gonna call and check in. I think they're planning to be there in person though, so if they're not there yet, then probably not.
I see Taye on, which is, he's the applicant for item 6. So Ty, if you could unmute yourself and tell us if your team is ready, we could jump to item 6.
We're ready.
Okay, all right, then we'll move on to item 6.
John, you have to recuse, right?
And John needs to recuse.
Doing 6 now?
Yeah, we jumped to 6 because 4 and 5 aren't.
Yeah.
You want to text your people for 5?
Sorry, you can't leave early.
Which one? 6? Is agendized for conceptual? No, everything's conceptual. Yeah. Yeah. For public comment. Yeah, I know we moved very fast. No?
Move at the perfect pace.
Okay, okay.
It's actually just the,
I like felt the pressure last meeting, so now I'm.
Switching around the agenda.
I know,
But I think
we,
if it's on conceptual,
Also,
otherwise we just have to wait
there
until.
is no time certain. They are supposed to be here at 9 o'clock, and that's it.
Yeah, okay, then we're gonna confidently go to item 6. The Kapustiak alterations, is located in the Toro Canyon Community Plan. It was incorrectly noted for the Eastern Galeta Valley. At the request of Taye Architect, this item's here for conceptual review of a new door and window replacement with changes to the garage roof style plus addition of a cupola, changes to the exterior siding materials and interior remodel of 430 square feet. There's an existing residence of 2,710 square feet, and it requires no cut and fill, located at 3555 Padaro Lane. And if the applicant could state their name and give us their presentation. Ty, unmuted.
Hello,
Hello.
good morning. We are doing some interior remodel for kitchen and bathroom and ended up replacing some doors and windows facing the ocean. And also the existing garage, we were thinking to improve it and dress up a little bit by changing the hip roof to a gable roof, add a little cupola on top of it. The rendering can be seen on, I think, the next couple of sheets.
Okay.
Other than that, we're not really doing addition to the house. Just basically some cosmetic upgrade. If you keep going to next sheets. Yeah, this floor plan is showing the bathroom and the kitchen remodel inside.
We can focus on the elevations, any changes to
Okay,
the
if we
exterior?
go next page. Okay, stay here. So basically, you can see the rendering of the existing garage, going from hip roof to gable end with a cupola. And we want to introduce some brick veneer element to bring up some flavor to the existing house. And that's pretty much what we're doing. And the all the materials that we bring in, we have a color board. The color is very much to follow what the color tone is at the current house right now. If
Okay.
you keep going to next sheets, yeah, and keep going, we have a door and window schedule and the color board.
Yeah, you can keep scrolling, Jonathan.
Yeah, keep going, yeah. So we're gonna be using a low-end window and the natural color for the window and for the brick veneer. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, does this project require any other approval, any mod being in the coastal zone or anything like that, or any action?
We're going to CDP with the condition that the design reviews approval.
Okay.
Okay.
So did you say that the new windows are going to be a natural finish on the outside or on the inside?
Outside. If you look at sheet A7, the window specs, and we call out,
Jonathan,
go down.
Jonathan,
We-
A7.
He's on A7 right
Yeah,
now.
we call out the color to be grayish, second to the left on the top row.
Wait.
That's what is
That's
there
white.
right now. Yeah, the color
That's-
is to try to match what is there right now.
Ty, that's,
confused.
it's, the red line encircling the specification is circling the white. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
it says
let's-
white, yeah.
And that's the exterior.
That's the exterior. The interior will be wood.
Okay,
Okay, okay,
that's fine.
all right. Any other questions from the board? All right, we'll move on to public comment. I don't see any attendees with their hands up. There's no one present. Okay, so we'll come back to comments from the board. Start with Val this time.
Can we go back to the elevation page? One more. One more. Where the rendered. So the brick, one more. Yeah. Yeah. I get, yeah, it's tight for the brick around the gable end. But you can't go higher because of the windows beyond. I don't know. I guess I'm all right.
Okay. And Alex? Comments?
I think it's ready to go.
Okay.
Preliminary, final, and consent, I guess, something like that.
After it goes to the,
After
variance
receives,
committees.
yeah.
Okay. Josh, do you have any other comments? Okay, nor do I. So once you go through the approvals you need, you can come back to us for preliminary and final on consent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have an applicant for item 4 or 5 yet?
This is Chris, the planner for item number 5. I just called both applicants and left messages, but I haven't heard back.
Okay. Well, let's take a 5-minute recess then and see if they come back.
Yeah, I'm planning to leave a few minutes. There's somebody.
Okay.
I mean, it's
So
really,
5 minutes, we can give
yeah,
them 5
yeah,
minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay.
Your schedule.
Yeah.
Don't even have time. Boom, right? How big is
Yeah,
that?
how you just walk into the living room.
I want to put on the record, I think applicants need to show up or at least have their Zoom connection ready at the time the meeting starts. I mean, it's just, anyway, otherwise it will be continued.
So we're going to take a 5-minute pause and we'll be back at 5:05. Okay, we are back from our break, continuing with item number 5.
And if anyone for item number 4 is, nope, no one is on yet. So, okay, so we'll come back to item 4 if the applicant reappears or appears. So item 5, Hillside House at Laurel Springs in Goleta, at the request of John Cooey Kendall, agent for the Laurel Springs Retreat LLC. This item's here for further conceptual review of a 204 square foot addition. The following structures exist on the property: a retreat center with various structures totaling approximately 32,000 square feet. The project will not require grading, and it's a 40-acre parcel located at 2720 Painted Cave Road in the Goleta area. If the applicant is available, please state your name and start your presentation.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Clay.
Hi. Sorry, I was on the road here and I pulled over to do the hearing. I thought I'd get back in time. Clay Arell, architect, AB Design Studio. Will be presenting the project today. At first, I want to make a couple comments about the agenda. And this is a note to staff. We need to make corrections to the agenda. It's not accurate. John Kuykendall is not representing the owner. AB Design Studio is. And the project description needs to be updated. So I want to make sure that that happens before the next time we come before you guys. In addition to that, we have a very complicated site and a complicated project. And it's 40 acres. If you can see in the middle of the screen, there's a square and then a rectangle directly above it in the middle. The square is the 40-acre parcel that we're going to be talking about today. The rectangle directly above it is an adjacent parcel, which the Laurel Springs Ranch actually spanned the cross portion of it. So the area that is outlined that says scope of CUP is the area we're going to be talking about today. We can zoom out, please. I know many of the people on the board have seen this project before. It was last here in January or February of 2018. And since then, we've been working with the owners on several things. But for the people who haven't seen this project before, this is the Laurel Springs Ranch. Used to be owned by Jane Fonda. There's structures on this property that go back to the early 1900s. Between then and now, there's been a number of structures constructed, cottages, small homes, small guest houses, barns, maintenance sheds, storage buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So over time, this property has evolved, and much of what has been here happened pre-ordinance, and meaning, you know, in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and so on, before there was actually an ordinance that we have adhered to today. On the site map on the left, you can see the property, or the ranch. We'll call it the ranch, the Laurel Springs Ranch. Up on that image, the top part of that image is Painted Cave Road that comes down from El Cielito and cuts across the parcel and then heads east on the southeast corner of the image into the Painted Cave community. So this parcel sits just adjacent to the Painted Cave community to the east. We're just west of that. And to the west of us is open land. And to the north of us is open land as well. To the south of us is a very steep decline down to Highway 154. So there's nobody to the south, there's nobody to the west or north of our parcel. It's important to note as well that you can't see the parcel from anywhere. You can't see it from 154 unless you pull over in one certain location. And when you come along Painted Cave Road, it's very difficult to see any of the development, as it's pretty well laden with mature trees and landscaping and chaparral. So we are in the process. So just to give a little bit of planning background, just for the sake of discussion, we're in the CUP process on this parcel. When the client purchased the project or the parcels in 2011, thereabouts, the prior CUP expired upon sale or transfer. Prior to that, there's been numerous conditional use permits over the years for retreat centers, Jane Fonda's, yogas, and jazzercise, and there's been camps, summer camps. Cottage Hospital used to use this for their nurses. So it has a pretty long history of being used as a quote unquote retreat or event center or quasi hospitality use. Our intention with our client is to clean up all the buildings. A lot of them need deferred maintenance, do some additions here and there to make them more functional, clean up some of the weird things that people have done over the years, as well as do some additions to other buildings on site. There's 15 to 16 structures. And, you know, I don't think we can get through all of that today. We're hoping that we could work with the board and with staff to maybe come back in a couple weeks and either have a longer hearing where we can really dig into more structures, or do a couple of series of meetings that we can go through, you know, sections of the site, because it's 40 acres plus another 70. So it's a lot to go through.
So Clay,
Today,
sorry to interrupt, but would it make the most sense today to introduce us to anything that's going to require a modification or is being added, and then we could come back and
so
thank
you very much. Actually, I was just going to get into that.
Okay.
Today, the agenda talks about the Hill House. We thought it would be appropriate to just give a little background of the overall site, where we're at, where we're headed, and then talk about the Hill House. The Hill House is, if we can go to, I'm sorry, I don't have these page numbers committed. So the site plan, which is probably 1 or 2 pages ahead. Let's go here. Yes. So this diagram shows you all the different buildings on site, and the gray areas are the areas where we're doing additions, or new structures or additions to existing structures as part of our overall proposal and a part of our CUP process. If you look at the bottom of the page, and I'm on my laptop, so I think it says A. There's a building at the bottom of the site plan. That one right there. Yes, thank you. That is labeled Building A, I believe. That's the Hill House.
Yes.
And the Hill House is a home that we're not exactly sure when it was built. We have archive documentation from 1986, and then going back, we have archive documentation from 1974. But at some point around the 70s, we believe that structure was permitted and constructed. And then between that time, and then in 1986, it was added on again. And then between 1986 and 2011, it had been added on several times by other people without permits. When our client bought it in 2011, they added a wing to the building on the screen, southeast corner of the building on the screen. That addition was done without a permit. So part of what happened then was an enforcement case in 2015. That's when we realized that we no longer had an active or valid CUP, which then started this process around 2016, 2017. The Hill House is the main house, or I would say, I guess you could say it's the main residence of the property. Whereas if you see Building C just above it and to the left, that's the Laurel House. That was one of the first residential homes on the parcel, built in probably the early teens or 20s. back then. And then you can see these other buildings kind of around it that have been added over time. So we're going to start with A, that's the Hill House. And if we zoom out and we can go to the next page. Let's see, this is just a site diagram on septic. We can keep going. Keep going. Keep going. One more. Here we go. So as part of our presentation, and we don't have to go through all of it today because there's a lot, but we've taken each structure and kind of grouped them together in the set of plans. So that the first one is the Hill House. So the Hill House, like other structures, it'll have its own local site plan, and it'll have an image of the house, and it'll have, like I said, it's local site plan. The next page will have photos, and then we'll have floor plans and elevations. So we've kind of done that so that we could look at each one kind of individually in the individual setting, because most of the builded structures are not near other structures. So this is the Hill House. Most of what you see here, as I said before, has been added over time. Image 1 is kind of the front door of the home, which that large gable in front was added. I'll show you on the elevations. Image 2 is kind of working around the corner, and you just kind of march around the building. Image 4 is a drone image that we took of the structure, and that shows the southeastern wing that was added, and you can see it has multiple dormers on it facing south. That's a master suite addition that was added that triggered the enforcement case. And then as we've done our forensics, we found that there's other additions to the building that have been done over time that were also not permitted. So part of the goal of the CUP is to wrap all this into okay, now it's all permitted, and we know what we have and we can move forward. We can go to the next slide, please. This is a study we did. We went up to the Hill House, tried to see where we could find anything from public way that we could see the home from. And we found a couple areas that we could see from the Hill House, like the airport, Patterson overpass, and one down below on 154. And this is just showing that even though this house is up on the ridge, you really can't see it from anywhere from a public way. You certainly can't see it from the airport's too far. Patterson's too far. You can see it from below just barely if you pull over on 154. Hopefully you're not looking up at it while driving, but obviously if you pull over and get off the road and stand in a certain spot, you can actually see a portion of the house. So really it's not visible, and you can't see it from the Painted Cave road that services the community up there.
Clay,
next slide.
I'm sorry to interrupt one more time. Just so we know what our purview, what we're supposed to be reviewing, is this house entirely unreviewed previously and needs to go through the full planning process then? We don't have a staff report to support what we are supposed to be reviewing.
Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah.
So as it started with the enforcement case.
Okay.
Once we had an enforcement case, everybody realized that we had a bunch of structures up there that nobody has record of. There's permits for things like new deck on pool cabana, but there's no permit for the pool cabana. So there's a lot of permit history and CUP history on the site.
Yeah, let me interrupt you for a second. I think we need a staff report. We need a comment from the staff, somebody to review this and write it down and give it to us, and then we can have it's agendized as a 2004 square foot addition. This is what we're looking at. I don't see a 204 square foot addition. Is it the addition to the Hill House? Is that what's supposed to be?
That's what I'm talking about. First of all, the project description's incorrect, which I stated at the very beginning. And second of all, the addition was to the Hill House is what we're talking about now.
Right, but
this is-
we do need we need a staff, we need a somebody from staff to review this project
So
and guide
this is
us,
Chris
you know.
Muckle, the planner. Sorry to interrupt. There's a memo that was in the file that you can pull up that has an accurate project description and describes what items are unpermitted and what is permitted. So if you pull that up, it might be helpful to show it and take a look at that. That might give you some context. Scroll down a little bit past the comments. Yeah, right there. And we'll make sure to get the SBAR agenda fixed for the next round.
Okay.
So we were just going to concentrate on the Hill House today.
So it's an unpermitted house. There it is, Hill House. I'm sorry, I didn't, you know, I didn't look at this before. Okay, keep going up. Yes, so there it is. I see. So we're looking only at structure one, which is not the addition, but it's basically you want the whole house permitted, right? I mean, it's built, you're adding to it, you want this to be legalized, right?
There are permits from 1974 for the Hill House and 1986 from the Hill House that we have in our drawings. And over time, it's been added on to. So this application will effectively permit the unpermitted work done by prior owners and the unpermitted work done by this current owner.
Great, thank you. And it's just that we're looking today, it's just item number one, Hill House, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, I think we can go back to the plans. Thanks for the diversion.
We need to go, yeah. So these are just images. We can go to the next slide. These are the enforcement cases and the existing conditions floor plan. So this is as the house sits today. The wing on the page right, axial line was added at some point. The wing on the left, plan left, along the left, x-axis was partially added to by the current owner as a larger master suite addition. The main house in the middle with the fireplace and the kitchen below it, page down, those were part of the original home and then have been added on in various ways where you have the pantry and the little powder room, etc. So this is the existing conditions of the existing home that we're looking to cure the prior enforcement case. If we zoom out and go to the next page, this is the second floor. And again, the wing on the right was added at some point. The wing on the left is a volume space, so that's a double height space on the left where the master is. And then there's bedrooms above the kitchen and an atrium space by the fireplace. And we'll go down to the next page, please. So as we've been doing this application, the owners have been wanting to put solar on the home. They're actually trying to position this entire property off grid. So one of the things we're doing is looking at solar throughout the property and structures. So the roof plan, you see item drawing 1 with the roof plan. On the north side of that plan is the area that we're going to retrofit. So that was the as-built construction with the multiple dormers. And the image 3 shows what we're going to do is take those dormers down and put a sloped roof on it to provide an ample area for solar panels on the roof. The roof plan on the number 2 shows the revised roof plan from the roof plan number 1 that is today. Next slide, please. So we've done an elevation comparison. Over on the left are the height limit requirements, which is hillside ridgeline, which that ordinance was not in effect when the home was constructed. The first image shows the 1974 archive plan, the one lower on the page at the bottom, image number 1. That shows the original home that was constructed. It was above the ridgeline height limit. In 1986, image 2 shows additions that were made. And again, with the building being above the hillside ridgeline height. And then if you look at image 3 above, you'll see where the existing home sits. And this is the north elevation looking towards the ocean. And again, the left side of this image shows what was added by the current owner. The large gable to the left of the gable facing us, facing the other direction, that was added by somebody else. The far right side of that image with the 2-story element was added by somebody we don't have any records of, but it was also added. So we're trying to grab all this together and move it forward. We can look at the other elevations. Next slide, please. So same thing here. This is the east elevation. The 1974 elevation is down below. The 1986 elevation is in the middle, and the current elevation is on the top. And you can see the gable facing us on the right side was altered between 1986 and 2011. And then the left side of the number 3 elevation was the bedroom wing that was added in 2013, 2014. Next slide, please. This is the south elevation. And again, we've got the 1974 elevation, original elevation, remodeled in 1986 and added onto. And then number 3 elevation shows the sort of multiple gable as-built condition that we have today. In number 3 elevation, the left side, that was added, that's existing, but was added by somebody at some point. The porch in the middle that covers that center gable, it's at the second floor. That was added at by some other prior owner. And then the right side of that elevation is what was added by the current owner, or expanded, I should say. Next slide, please. And this is the west, so similar, the 74 below, 86 in the middle. And you can see on image 3 that there's been additions over time as part of it. And that's the as-built condition as it sits today, image 3. There's another slide. I think there might be one. This shows the changes that we're proposing with this application, from as-built on the bottom to proposed on top. So image 1 is as-built, elevation 2 is newly proposed or revised, proposed, I guess. Image 3 is east elevation, existing condition, and proposed on image 4, effectively just removing a bunch of those funky dormers and getting some flat area to put some solar on the building. Not sure if there's another. Can we check to see if there's one more page? No? Oh, we have a series of sections in here. Yeah, just one page of sections. Just to reiterate, the enforcement case came about on the Hill House. It identified other as-built conditions on the property, which are part of this application. We're here just presenting the Hill House today, and would like to come back and go through the other structures on the site at a later date. Because of the location of the Hill House and its proximity to the ridge, its hillside ridge line, we need BAR to weigh in on the heights, given that it was constructed above a height limit that wasn't enacted until after the home was originally built. And so that's our presentation. Our presentation doesn't include any landscaping at this time. We're actually not proposing anything local to the Hill House. There may be other landscape opportunities around the site, but for now, we're just working on structures, cleaning them up, and
That's good.
getting them in compliance.
Sounds great. Clay, do you happen to know, there was a list of, A
Thank
through
you.
G comments from, there were A through G comments from before. Were those comments, were you involved when it was reviewed at that point, or are these comments to a completely previous design team?
We were not involved with the comments from the last hearings, but we did look at the comments.
Okay,
A lot of it had to do with getting this organized and getting it in a fashion that made sense. The Hill House, there wasn't really specific comments on the Hill House from my recollection.
I don't see any specific to the Hill House.
There's been a
And
lot of changes and evolution since then.
it does seem like you addressed most
Sorry,
of them
go ahead.
because a lot of it was around that organization. But I just wanted to ask about one. The comment E had said that the work should be inspired by historical report. Is there a historical report for this structure, or that was other areas of the property? Oh, he's frozen. And we'll go to comments. I know.
Yeah, good question. If I was, we do have our plan done on this property many years ago. It determined that there's no historical significance in any of the structures. So none of these structures fall under the Secretary of Interior's guidelines.
Okay.
So there's no historic component on any of the structures on the property.
Sounds good. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the board?
You're welcome.
What I can't read on the screen, what is the height of the building and what's the actual current county height requirement?
We zoom in on number
32.
4, I think. So you have two things to consider. You have a height limit, which is max height per county ridge line is 35. And then you have a height, I always get this confused, I'm sorry. I have the documents on the drawings, but there's a height limit and then there's a max height and then there's a height limit. Max height is what's allowed by ordinance. And the height limit is the 16 feet above or 19 feet above the topo line or the profile of the site, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And we can go to 19, it's usually 16, but we can go to 19 because of the pitches of the roof.
Right.
So the original home was built above that when it was built in 1974 and then modified again in 1986. And then the other additions over time, some areas might comply, but most of it doesn't. It's still above by a few feet.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 2310.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, relevant to that. So the 1986 addition, that has a permit with a higher roof, is that correct?
Yeah, but we've done a lot of forensics on this, so bear with me for a second. In 1974, it was built and the original ridge was established. That hasn't changed on the house. When eventually there was an ordinance written and height limits were enacted, and there was then at some point the hillside ridge line, the existing ridge of the home never went up or down. It always was above that limit, but when it was constructed, there was no ordinance for it. So I guess this is a grandfathered in discussion, but
Okay,
nothing's
thanks.
changed. Nothing's gone any higher than originally constructed.
Thank you.
Okay. Jonathan, can you zoom out to the south elevations? Yeah, zoom out so we're looking at south and east. Yeah, okay, that's good.
Any other questions? Move on to public comment, or did you have another question? Okay. Move on to public comment. I don't see anyone in the audience.
We do have one person in the attendees. If anybody's here for public comment, please raise your hand in the chat.
Does not have his hand raised.
Nope, no hand raised.
Okay, then we'll move on to comments from the board. We'll start with Alex.
No, I was curious as to see what was legal because my impression is that the improvements are improvements. They do improve the existing conditions in terms of they are is a better overall design and etc. I was just trying to figure out how what the legalities of all this. So that's why I was curious about the planner's memo. I should have read that. I should have read that online. I was not really, what threw me off was the, I saw it on the agenda as a 204 square foot addition. So I thought, well, I'm not going to read the planner's memo on this. So that's why, that's why all this came about. So I think next time we need a very good description of the project and see what we're looking at. So I'm not sure if I'm, when you say 1986, I'm trying to figure out what exactly is as built and what exactly is it built per permit. It may be a technical question, but it really guides our purview. And if it was so that's what I would like to see more before I really make any comments. I do like what you're doing. I think it's a good architecturally, it's fine. I just want to see what is the legality of all this and what is this board supposed to comment on. And I guess I'm going to read the planner's memo next time. I hope it's more descriptive and it shows exactly what has a permit, what did not have a permit, and what was as built very clearly. And I believe that this application is only for this house, the hillside. All of the other presentation we had before is really, in a way, academic, and unless there's another project coming.
It was a request in the comments, so I think that's why they had started with that.
Okay, thank you.
Right now.
Yeah, well, I'm very glad to see a comprehensive approach to this property. And that was part of the problem with the earlier application, is that this is such a complicated, with so much history and needs so much effort to pull it all together. So I really appreciate the approach you're taking to doing that. And I understand that's why you gave us some background on the total site, the number of buildings. It's true, a number of us have been to the site and were in the Hill House and saw what a complicated situation it is. I really like the just simplifying of it. The dormers were never doing anything of great benefit for the look of the building. It's interesting that what the current owner did on the west end has a nice feel to it. And if anything, I wish you could vary the big gable roof a little bit. Now, maybe that has other complications, but it is still in a long unbroken ridge. And I would support raising part of it a little bit higher just to kind of mimic what's happening on the west side in terms of breaking that long unbroken ridge with some stepped gables. So, that may have all sorts of issues to try to do that, but in general, it's a very challenging building to pull together because of all these additions. And the simpler that you are making it, the better it's getting. So I support what you're doing, and the height, it's already there. So not a problem. Yeah.
John?
Well, I agree with those comments also. It is obviously it's really complicated structure's been added onto, and but I think the idea of simplifying it is working, and I encourage that, and I think that trying to bring the whole complex into perspective is essential, and I think that the progress that you made is good. It seems that the improvements that you made are important, and I hope we can continue through the rest of the project with that idea in mind. That'd be my comment.
Good. Yeah, I agree with the previous positive comments. I think direction is really cleaning up the structure. So at this point, you just are asking for kind of positive comments and then coming back with the next piece of the puzzle? Is that the?
Thank you for everyone commenting, and I understand that there's a lot here.
All right, Clay, you're really muffled.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for taking a look at this. We'll get the descriptions and everything cleaned up. Because this hasn't been to the board in so long, and because it is complicated and there's so many things going on the property, we wanted to get the process started. We'd like to come back to look at the rest of the parcel with the board as soon as possible, but we would like to go through the rest of the project and what we're doing in the other areas of the site so that we can do that. So any comments today would be taken, and we'll take those forward and then come back for more comments on other structures if possible.
Good, thank you.
Madam Chair, if we're gonna see the rest of the project, I mean, like the whole project, we probably need another site visit or something. It's been 6 years since we saw this.
Yeah.
I mean, you can move on with this project. Now I understand it. I'm clear about this. You know, you can move it on to the next phase. The rest, well, we need to start again, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Need a
And-
site visit.
Just from an administrative point, I'll have to send out a renotice as well. So if you can let me know when you'll be ready to come back on the next board, and I can have a notice ready.
So we're formally requesting a site visit for the next time we see this.
What I'm saying is, if we expand, if we're going back to the whole project.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm looking at
we-
various buildings.
Yeah, we need,
So that's just a comment, is that
yeah,
we
right.
request a site
Yeah.
visit for the next time we see
And
this.
it's kind of at the level, say, what we did with the Kate School, where there's multiple buildings, there's lots of history, there's lots of landscape area, there's interconnectedness between buildings, that having a master plan is what it needs. So it's good that you're doing
But
that.
this one here, it seems pretty
Pretty straight.
contained
yeah.
and straightforward.
Right.
And if you're gonna go to get a permit on this, it's it's a shorter path for this one.
Right.
Just offering that.
Right.
Just a question for the applicant. Do you believe you'll be ready for the February 2nd SBAR hearing, or do you think the next hearing will be appropriate?
Sorry, February 2nd.
Or
We should
February
probably go-
16th?
We should probably go the 16th.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you. All right, is the applicant for item 4 online or in person yet? Not in person.
Is the attendee in our virtual column here for item number 4, Artigas Eshigari Addition and Guest House?
This is Chris, the planner. I think the attendant Vince was part of our project, Laurel Springs.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. All right,
So we
so,
have no applicant for item number 4.
okay, so we have no,
Make a motion to continue this item then to the
Yeah.
next agenda.
February 2nd, I
Yeah,
need a
okay.
motion and a
Okay,
second.
thank you.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alex first, Valerie second, 5-0 vote.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll close out the SBAR meeting of January 19th. I don't think we decided we don't need to make a motion for that, right?
Nope. Thank you so much, everybody.